Hi guys.
Hi everybody.
Thank you for joining us in our Leia and Shad live video, whatever this is.
I think it's 8 or 9. This is one of the two. Real quick, just want to thank everybody for doing the liking our page and everything. We're just trying to get everybody off to the page, makes it a lot easier to acknowledge everybody. Come on. All right. Say hi.
Hi.
All right. This is our little princess. This is Sunshine. Go ahead. Say hi.
Hi.
Say bye.
Bye.
All right, go.
We're watching YouTube.
You're watching YouTube. This will be on YouTube in a minute. All right. We just want to thank everybody for chiming in and sending us your questions as well as for liking the page. We appreciate it. Please invite all your other friends. We appreciate that too. And we'll get it started for this week.
So I'm actually taking lead on this topic tonight. It's our for better or for worse. When you aren't on the same wavelength. Now, a lot of people may or may not know, we are seen as like the
it couple.
The it couple, power couple, whatever. We got it together couple. But it wasn't always like that, and it's not like that. It's a work that we constantly are making sure that we
It's a work in progress.
Yes, it is a work in
every
progress.
day.
Yes.
It's perpetual. It's
yes.
consistent.
It keeps on going because this is, a partnership, so we need to make sure that we're in it for the long haul and on the same page. But there have been times where we haven't been on the same wavelength.
Like today. Go ahead.
And that there's just, well, let me just start from what it was. Back when I was pregnant with Anaya, it was new to me. This was my first full-term pregnancy, and I was new to all of this. I'm the only child. I didn't really have anybody younger, under me that I could watch. So I didn't know how to raise a child or even how to take care of one. So everything was really new to me. When I gave birth to Anaya, I was in the hospital overnight, for 3 days. And it was a horrible experience.
Wasn't my fault.
It definitely was not his fault. It was a whole bunch of just snowball effects of things that were just bad. He couldn't get paternity leave, so I had to do most of the stuff on my own with her. When I was in the hospital, I was breastfeeding, and there was no one there to really show me how to do it. So I did it incorrectly. And yes, you can breastfeed incorrectly to the point where she was stripping me of skin, and she was like swallowing blood from me, and it was so horrible. They had to pump her, and that just caused a whole bunch of other mental things that I didn't even realize slowly built up. I had to go to training because I wouldn't give up. So I had to go to training for her and for her to latch on properly. I had to get guards for me so she wouldn't strip me. It was horrible, and most people would give up, but I was determined to breastfeed. So much so that I did it for 3.5 years.
Yeah, it was a little extensive.
Yeah, it was extensive, but thus you see the little giant we have now.
She's 7 and she's that tall.
Yeah. But it wasn't easy, and I didn't realize at that time that I was going through postpartum. With dealing with that, with not knowing how to do the things correctly. We had to switch up formulas, and she wasn't like holding things properly, holding it down properly. She would be gassy, she would cry. I couldn't pump a lot, so I had to give her formula, and that to me as a mom was just so bad mentally, to not be able to do something that I really wanted to do for my daughter. I didn't want to be on formula. I wanted to exclusively breastfeed, but I couldn't because I wasn't making enough at first. What that did was that I would cry at night, and in the middle of the night when I would have to, feed her and then burp her, and she wouldn't go to sleep, and she would cry, and I'd be up by myself just pacing in the dark.
Now this is all unbeknownst to me.
I didn't tell him because he would work, and I felt in my head that it was my responsibility. I chose this life for me, so I should let him rest, because he would need to go to work the next day, and it was on me to take care of the baby.
Yeah, it's difficult, to really speak about this, because as men, we're never really taught on how to be a father. Okay, I have an older son. He's going to be 12 in October, and to say that, well, you have a kid, you know what you're doing itself. Some of the experiences, are similar, but every child is different. But you're never really taught as a man on how to be a father. Everything is just an example of what you've seen, people you've been around, people you observed, and from your own experiences. And you take those things and try to bring together, and you try to formulate, okay, this is how I'm going to be, and this is how I'm not going to be. But what you don't realize is everything you do and don't do is watched by your child. It becomes an influence upon them, okay? It could be, sayings or certain things that you say or how you say it. When you're around certain people, for a long period of time or an extensive period of time, they pick up on those things. And as a father, especially as a black male, if your parents are there, great. If they're not, you have to go by your own experiences. And it becomes tough because you're only taught to provide. As males, we're taught to provide, go to work, we help out or whatever the case around the house, and, be a father, be a husband within that family as it grows together. But your main focus, as you've been taught through school, is to provide, go get a job, take care of your family, and have a sense of responsibility. I feel that type of way of thinking forces many of the stereotypes that we've had for generations, that the woman is to be the caretaker and to be at home and watching a child, and she's supposed to be fine with that. And as men, we work a full-time job, not knowing that the full-time job is actually raising this family, actually being with the child day in and day out.
So what happened was I became withdrawn.
She became bitter, angry.
I wasn't really angry. I was sad. Internally, I felt guilty for having certain feelings, but I didn't realize it was because of this postpartum. I was just like, oh, it's not me, I'm fine, but I really wasn't. I was sad. I was depressed. I didn't want to go out. I didn't even want to take walks. I had to force. My mom used to scream at me, and my dad used to scream at me, just go around the block for a walk. I didn't want to do that. I was just like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do anything. It was like, you're supposed to sleep when the baby sleeps, but then when can you do housework, So I could never get into a groove of things. So I didn't even want to get up. I didn't want to really eat anything. I didn't want to go out for walks. I just wanted to stay home and just let the time pass. And between me and him, it started to become a strain.
Contentious. Very.
And he couldn't figure out why, and I couldn't figure out how to tell him what I was feeling, because I didn't really know. And I didn't really know how to deal with this. I'm like, there was something living in my body for so long, and it doesn't feel like it's my own. And it's still recovering from 10 months, really, of housing this being, going back to normal. Like, your body stretches. Like, I never had stretch marks. I have stretch marks now because she grew to the point where my body just was like, okay, that's enough. Breastfeeding, pumping, trying to get on schedule with that. It was a lot, and it was a strain for me and him. And though we tried not for it to be that way, it was.
Yeah, we just weren't on the same page of, being able to identify or communicate what was actually happening, for, generations and, families, a woman would have a child, a couple months off maternity leave, get right back to work or get right back into the swing of things. Everything is normal. To men, we don't really understand the changes that happens within a woman's body, that your kidneys, your stomach, everything shifts within the body to house, or have this host. You're hosting this child. So your body's not really yours. It always feels like aliens, So your body's being shared. And then after, if you have a C-section, forget it. It's tossing everything back in. But everything now has to find a normalcy. And the best way to recuperate is to sleep. And that's the one thing most mothers aren't able to do. Most fathers, we go to work, we come back, we come home, and it's like, here, take the baby. And we don't get it, like, y'all have been working all day long, but you don't understand that it's a full-time job, period, being a mother, okay, to a child. You're up before everybody and you're asleep before anybody else. And then when that child wakes up, right, you're up after everybody else, and then that child wakes up in the middle of the night, they're sick or anything like that. One of the most, amazing things is a child can have a fever, but a mother holding that child will actually help to regulate that temperature. You know what I mean? Like, it helps bring it down. Like, it's soothing. It's just amazing what a woman can do and the capabilities of being a mom. And guys don't understand that. We just like, oh, I'm going to work, I'm coming in, I need to go to sleep, so I got to go do it all again. But they don't really understand the changes within the body at the resting period that, a mom doesn't get, outside when she leaves the hospital. And it's a taxing job. And I can say because we switched roles at one time.
So I felt that going back to work would fix everything. I was like, all I need to do is just get back to work, get back into the thing, just be able to get away from all of it. But what I was doing was I was pushing my problems to further in the future so I wouldn't have to deal with it presently. And I found a job at CBS, go figure, and we switched. So he stayed home while I worked, but that didn't fix us. Because again, I couldn't realize what the problems, were from previously. That hadn't been fixed. So it had just kept going on steadily. And it got really bad, I was trying to also plan our wedding during this whole time, trying to keep myself busy and like, okay, all I need is this to happen. But when it happened, or when I was disappointed that it didn't happen, it felt like my world had crashed down. I wasn't, I couldn't realize I couldn't realize what I wanted to, what I was planning to do. And it just got worse and worse, got more and more contentious, more fighting. Until a point where he was just like, really, this is all you wanted? Like, you don't see anything else in the future, so I'm gonna leave. And I'm like, why are you gonna leave? What's the problem? We're supposed to be fixing this thing. We told each other that we would never get to that point. He's like, well, what can I do? There's nothing I can do to make you feel better. That's how you're making me feel. So I had to take a step back. We had to talk it out and work it out, really.
I mean, the toughest part about being able to, you're speaking to somebody where nothing is enough, and that's how I started to feel like no matter what I did or what was going on, I know now what you were facing, because now I'm up at night. I'm up before anybody. I'm up at night. I'm through the night. You're resting. You're working. You're now being the breadwinner. So you have to, you're switching roles, and 6, 7 o'clock come in and I'm ready for you to come in the door, and the first thing I wanted to do was go, here, take the baby. And I couldn't do that because I was like, that was what you were complaining about when I walked in the door. So I was like, okay, we have to find, a routine, something that works out. And we started to put all these goals ahead of us. And the more goals that were placed in front of us, if you reach it, great. If you didn't reach it, it was always something more, it was insatiable, to it. We planning a wedding, we're planning this, we want to do that. And when it happened, it was like, well, once I just get this, then everything will be fine. And it's never that way. Like people think that money solves everything. It doesn't. To say that, if this one thing happens, then everything will be, all right. And it doesn't work that way. It only works with communication. It works with being able to speak your mind openly, freely, and honestly with your significant other. And being able to be that open is where you start to find out, I was hearing you, but I wasn't listening. I thought I understood, but now I really comprehend because now I have the experience. I'm participating in the growth. You have to participate in your relationship. You have to participate in your marriage. And sometimes it's not about everything that they need to do. It's about the things that you need to do. And if you're having, that type of contention and things like that, and you start complaining, and this one's doing this one and that and that and the third, take a moment and say, what could I be doing more of? Because if you want to get something in return, you have to give it first. If you want love, you got to give love. You want respect, you got to give respect. You have to give these things first to get that, back in return. You also have to take a moment to say, am I respecting, am I loving myself? Okay, to be able to share that with someone else. You got to be overfilled with love yourself to be able to share it with somebody else, for you to both to get on that same page. And, having a child will, create that tension, between you, because you have another life that's depending upon you for everything, from eating to, properly sleeping, hygiene, their health, everything. Your job as a parent is to keep them alive, and we've been doing a pretty good job with these.
Also, like we always stress, if your relationship is going through stresses and you bring a life into it, it's going to cause more stresses. Don't ever believe that having a child brings you together. That's not true, because the most stressful time in anyone's relationship, and the most time it's going to be tested, is when you have children. It's all because you're mentally, physically, emotionally, it's a draining situation. So that's what happens. I've come a long way. Later on in our other videos, I'll actually explain something else, that I had to go through personally and physically, that I had to go through in order to bring me to this point. But we still haven't had our wedding, but I have come to terms that, it's something that will happen. I was always very pessimistic, like it'll never happen. It will happen. It's just that we have other life priorities that we have to take care of before tuition before we can get to that point. And that's just like the goal of it, but it's not defining us. And I learned that. So that's it, before I turn this into a whole other long segment.
It is a long segment, because when you're not on the same page, you're not, meeting each other.
And that could lead to, separation, divorce, arguments constantly, just not being respectful of each other, and everything just goes downhill. So
I think society puts a very unhealthy pressure on married couples that it has to be perfect. You know, there is no such thing as perfection. You know, you strive for progress, you strive to get there, but you have to practice the fundamentals, you know, over and over and over again.
And we did everything backwards, so I mean, it's not, you know, it's not perfect. Yeah, it's not perfect, but you know, we're happy. Like we said,
we've grown
up together. This is not for show at all. Like, our love is genuine.
We've been through it.
You know, we've been through it, and we just hope that you can take from this and continue to watch our advice and our story. And
we're gonna keep giving it to y'all as honest as possible. If you want to inbox us, you have any questions, as we, you know, go through these. This part of the series for this one, these a little more in depth. This one's for better, for worse. You know, when it really gets bad, we're gonna open up about those things, you know, in different types of ways. This was just one of them. You know, when you have a child and you know, you're switching roles, you know, and really seeing exactly what the other one's actually going through and what they're feeling. And once you realize that, hey, you have the same capacity, now you have an opportunity to improve, you know, collectively. You know, we got a bunch of different stories to tell you about on things that have happened in our marriage. But you wanna you wanna be able to just take a moment and just live in the moment, you know, with your significant other, and just say, you know what, we've been through a lot, and we're gonna go through so much more, but I so look forward to it. You know, I know she does too, right?
Yeah,
I hope so.
I do.
Not this morning, but yeah.
No, this morning.
You're not always going to be on the same page. It happens, but you know, we make sure that before we go to sleep every night, we're never mad at each other. Okay, we always say, you know, at least 15 minutes. We speak all day long, but we at least take 15 minutes where we just talk about us, you know, every day, and just see if we can get on the same page. And that's what you want to make sure, at least be in the same chapter. You know, if you're not on the same page, be on the same chapter at least. But I'm not the same man I was, you know, 5, 7, 10 years ago. Okay, and I appreciate that, and it's so much due to her in helping me to grow, to get to this point. There's a lot of people I have to thank, of course, but it's a journey that I'm proud of, you know, that I've been able to get thus far, and be able to continue to grow. That, you know, we have our children growing up, you know, nieces and nephews growing up that we're proud of, you know, because that's what it comes down to. It's not more so of a sacrifice, it's more of us sharing the love and seeing the joy and happiness on their faces. And if we can enjoy the moments to get there, you know, for them, then it's all worth it. Marriage is everything in that case. So yeah, if you have any other questions, definitely, you know, come through. Definitely send your friends invitations to the group itself. We do this every Monday at 10 o'clock. I know it was a little late today, but, you know, washing dishes. You have to get on the same page today. I got to put the little one to bed in a little while. But, yeah, every Monday we'll be doing this. You know, invite your friends out, like, subscribe, follow, comment, send us questions itself. We're also still working on the book. That's actually coming off very well, coming along, and we can't wait to launch that and just have you all share in our story. So have a great night.
Yes, good night.